Everyone knows to stay away from the wildlands, from the wilderness. Most people would never risk a lonely journey. Road wardens not only accept this struggle, they embrace it. They deliver messages, assist merchants. Actually, hold on a second here. Sorry, that's actually like crazy distracting. So I think I'll just try to make do with in-game here for right now. Go without the lo-fi. Okay, they deliver messages, assist merchants, burn human corpses, and if possible, get rid of the beasts and the highwaymen. They live on the road, die young, or retire early. It's a dangerous job, but a respectable one, and it pays well. Okay, we'll see about that. Yeah. I leave the safety of the city walls. I still have my doubts. I mean, I do. Oh. Oh, so yes or no to the new game. Okay, fine. Pick difficulty mode. Casual. Focus on the story. No time limit. More cash at the start. Some quests are more forgiving. 40-day limit. Regular rule set. We're gonna play casual first. This is my first go around. I don't know anything about the mechanics, so let's chill. The wall is still standing. There are no wolves around, no stench of blood. Good signs. This should be the place where you're looking for. You were supposed to meet with a group of soldiers, but you hear no voices, no sounds of labor. The gate is ajar, but the camp isn't safe. It may keep away the goblins and pebblers. What the fuck is a pebbler? But not beast folk nor trolls. And the night is near. Your palfrey breathes heavily. Had a long day. So palfrey is my horse. I could just look around the shelter. I need to look around cautiously. Dismount, sneak to the gate, speak inside. And camp briskly. Take a peek. Take care of yourself. If you're hurt or exhausted, some actions won't be available to you. The weaker you are, the higher the chance you'll die in combat. Good to know. Your boots hit the ground and the pain of the long ride finally catches up with you. You stretch out, bringing your back and legs comfort. All you want now is a table, a decent chair, a nice mug of beer, and some warm stew. With any luck, your axe won't be needed here. If it's a military camp, it doesn't look the part. Plenty of wasted space. The fire pit is cold. 2 people are sitting at the table, tired and disheartened. They're looking in different directions, paying no attention to one another. One of them is holding a cup. After a moment, you notice the quiet humming. You recognize the melody of a light-hearted drinking song from the city harbor. It takes them a few breaths to glance in your direction. The first person greets you with a wave of his hand. There are bags under his eyes, his beard is messy. Despite his simple shirt, he's wearing a durable, decent boots. A mace, with the head covered in iron, hangs at his side. A head covered in iron, so it's just a mace is what you're saying. Hangs at his side, but he doesn't reach for it. Just like you, she's wearing a gambeson. Okay. But hers is a bit loose, as if she took it off a corpse. Her head is shaven, as if she's protecting herself from the flesh-eating bugs. Her eyes are weary, yet kind. She smiles. Considering the squad that was sent here half a year ago, these 2 surely look the part. Though there should be more of them. 8, you believe. It's nice to see an unharmed traveler in this godforsaken shithole. Makes me just a tiny bit hopeful. The bearded man's voice is strong, yet timid. You'll be staying the night with us, I guess. We're soldiers, he and I, adds the armored woman. Her voice switches from half asleep to relaxed. We'll do our best to keep the camp safe, but if you were to take the first watch, it would be a huge help. Travelers ought to help each other, wouldn't you say? You think for a moment. To fully rest, you'd need a good sleep. Fantastic. She rubs her hands together. I don't remember the last time I had more than half a night of sleep. The hours before midnight should be the calmest. Just wake us up if anything happens. The man flashes you a wide smile. It's easy to wake us up. Just yell. He drinks from his mug. So, My plan here is that I'm not really going to trust them. I get the sense that they might have killed the soldiers here and have taken the base for themselves. They did have that line about her stuff not being, you know, not fitting. So, I don't know if I trust them. You wonder how to phrase your question. Whenever you meet new people, you can influence how they perceive you by selecting one of the attitudes. Friendly, playful, distanced, intimidating. Be sad, tired, afraid, or hopeless. I'm looking for you, Lieutenant. The woman stands up, dusts off her gambeson, and adjusts the sword at her side, and rests her head on the hilt. Her shoulders are straight, her eyes attentive. It'd be me, traveler. Are you in trouble? I took you for a wayfarer, to be honest. When you mentioned that your mount is waiting outside, she raises an eyebrow. Shouldn't you unsaddle it? I bet it's tired. She glances at the gate, then at her companion. Her voice drops the slightest sign of weirdness. I expect you're looking for directions. I'll help you as much as I can. She reaches out to you. Lieutenant Tulia. Maybe a trap. I just for her to stop pretending to be embarrassed. Watch. That's fine. Leto, whatever. Lieutenant stands her hand, but then raises her arm with the long sword. Of course. Just keep your horse away from the tents. We don't need to smell its dung. We should also prepare for the night. Soldier in the shirt also rises to his feet. We've no tent to spare. You'll have to use a blanket or something. You walk through the grate. Your mount looks around and snorts anxiously. Not many humans could ride a horse. It's not only taller than you, but also bulky, as heavy as it is strong. You can get in the saddle with a single breath, but most people wouldn't know where to even begin. From every side, it's a wall of flesh. Yeah, they probably want to eat the horse. Horses were brought to the Dragonwoods from the conquests in the south. They can trot for a long time, but won't outrun some of the local monsters. Your palfrey needs you to survive, but without it, you too would be lost. It takes a few steps towards you, scolding you with another snort. You scratch the bottom of its neck with strength and confidence, just the way it likes it. Humans see useful animals and even pets as monsters in disguise. Getting emotionally attached to them is believed to lead humans to their doom, but you know that horses need companionship. You end up next to the fire pit. Removing the saddle makes the horse nicker with relief. Relief, not belief. You take a couple of minutes to examine its back just in case. But the riding equipment is not that heavy for such a strong animal. With enough time, it starts to chafe. You wish it had something better to eat than the shabby grass. You should look for an inn. You haven't brought that many things, and you lost one of the sacks while fleeing the Crimson Corpse Eaters. Worst of all, you have no rope left, but maybe the soldiers could share one. Shouldn't cost more than a dragon bone. Aside from the travel set, you own a few valuable possessions, essential for your trade. I spent my savings on decent combat, fine games, and axe made of steel. Talismans help me use my powers, as well as an iron axe and a worn gambeson. Alchemical upgrade and iron axe, small healing potion. Nah, man. Let's mage. Let's be smart. You unpacked and inspect your belongings. The water skin isn't pierced. The spare clothes are still here, just in case. You take can't see it. Look at your wooden bowl and mug, your cape, tinderbox, bandages, food rations, knife. Nothing special or too cumbersome. From time to time, your routine helps you avoid mistakes, but this doesn't make it any more exciting. Unless you're occupied with the task, you can eat food, drink potions, and use your items from this menu. Be sure to click on each new item you receive, as some of them can have unusual applications. Food rations, okay? No cooking, that's good. I have 10 coins. Gambeson, padded defensive jacket made of linen filled with rags. Great. Cheapest type of armor. Magic is unreliable, so you spent a sack of coins to collect a couple of enhancing amulets. They may help focus your pneuma. It's a new word for me. It's a pneuma word for me. That in ways that you don't quite understand. All sorts of use. We'll just kind of take a look at it. All sorts of odds and ends as you take on this journey, just in case. A rain-proof cloak, a set of bone needles and a thread, an iron knife, a blade sharpener, tinderbox, and a couple of tallow candles. A bunch of rags used to make torches, as well as a flask of oil, a pair of protective gloves made of thick leather. Gotcha. Battle axe. Okay. They're at the table again, observing your beasts and chatting between themselves. Your stomach growls at the sight of them eating out of wooden bowls. One more bowl was put at a previously unused end of the table. You can sit down on a tree log. She's focused and chooses her words carefully. She looks away only when she gathers her thoughts. I can only say as much as I know, and that's not much. As you can see, there's not a lot of us left. At the beginning of the summer, there were 8 of us, including our previous lieutenant. 5 are dead, and 1 has run away in tears. We're also strangers in this land, adds her companion. The man leans forward, his legs shake nervously. He sounds like a kid asking for a bard to sing one more story, tell a joke, or do a magic trick. Whatever it takes to escape from boredom. His untrimmed beard hides a much younger face than you'd originally thought. What did the officials tell you? I expect not that much. No soul governs the lands. I share what I consider to be relevant. What I've discussed. You tell the soldiers how little guidance you received. Since this area is too far away from a Hovlevin to keep it under control, you were warned that it's untamed and unknown. Who knows how many villages, bandits, or monsters may be found in these unmapped hills and forests. From time to time, new people come here to look for boundless opportunities. Most of them never return. Do they turn into walking corpses, or find what they're looking for? The lieutenant drinks from her cup and crosses her legs, ankle on knee. Seeing her chair makes you doubt she'll ever find a comfortable position. Where should we start? I've lost my rope. Can you spare one? What happened in your squad? Tully, how did you go with the squad's mission? Anything that was a scam? The lieutenant looks into your eyes. You know, the usual, making the road safe, keeping the people alive. I can't really tell you. You sense no hesitation. Do you have any other questions? Bandits happen and monsters. A strong band, though, his companion chips in. When we got to the peninsula in the spring, we saw people living in this camp. The lieutenant decided to avoid it and look for an inn. We had to travel through the night and for a bit. The bearded soldier scoffs and crosses his arms, but she carries on. If he had decided otherwise, we all would have died on that day. The innkeeper explained that the camp is a trap. The armed ones pretend to be soldiers. Stay there at night, lose everything you have. Very much so. They killed some, took the others away, who knows where. They were letting northerners go, hoping to avoid their wrath. Kind of worked, adds a soldier. We asked them for help, but they refused. We had to clear the entire camp on our own. And that's why 3 of our people died. Don't exaggerate, it's not like the lieutenant didn't make a mistake. He wanted to get rid of them and take over their camp. But we didn't know our enemy well enough. We were outnumbered and they had an ice mage among them. At least we cleared the road, saved lives. Nothing that wouldn't surprise you. Those of us who survived the skirmish were young, too inexperienced to spend a summer in the place without a good leader, and they didn't trust me. One of them got caught by a Treant. Yikes. Another one ignored my orders to perform some sort of ritual hunt, so a werebear tore her to pieces. The last one tried to act tough, didn't tell us that he had cut his hand while he was cleaning his gambeson. We had to cut it off, and he was so ashamed that he decided to walk north, find a new life, disappear. The idiot. What a colorful journey. The man tries to drink from his mug, but it's empty. Julia seems defeated. Aren't you a bit late for a rescue mission? We haven't heard from him in almost half a year. The soldiers speak for a bit between themselves, trying to get their story straight. They confirm that he had stopped by their camp a few times, but stopped showing up at all in early summer. The bearded soldier starts to scratch under the table with the tip of his knife without looking at you. I don't remember his voice. Always busy, drowning in things to take care of. He would sit somewhere, sharpen his sword, fix his loud mail, clean clothes, write notes on that wax tablet of his. Yep, and leave at dawn. Unlike us, Asteria never gets bored. Julia lets out a joyless chuckle. He's secretive, but some of the locals speak about him very warmly. Maybe he just doesn't like us. If anyone knows, they won't tell us. Maybe someone is keeping him in a basement. The man carves with passion. We haven't seen him. Or his Saurian. Something ate them, I bet. The officials have hired you, right? They don't expect him to return. Richer road wardens often use four-legged, meat-eating saurians as their mounts. They have to be tamed and trained since they're hatching, but unlike horses, can easily defend themselves from many monsters. At least your palfrey is fast and reliable, and won't suddenly sink its teeth into an innocent passerby. Do you know what he was looking for? Neither one of us had any insight to his dealings. My predecessor left me no clues. We also took a look at Asterian stuff. Wait, I almost forgot. She stands up and heads to a nearby tent. He has kids in a village near Hoflevin. I was planning to take all his things there. A pouch, a second spear, decent bow, some potions. Quite a treasure. But I would much prefer to bring them the truth about their father. So you want me to find out what happened to him? Here's the catch. She dusts off the hilt of her sword. We've hired a messenger to ask the commanders for further orders. Since she hasn't returned, and you know nothing about her, she either ran away or something happened to her. We are meant to stay here until fall. Do you know it? Or what do you think? Come see us, tell us what you've learned about the man, and we'll get back to Havlefin together. You think about your real mission. You were planning to return to Havlefin in the fall anyway. If he's alive, I don't think he's going to be happy about me taking away. True, but he's considered dead. I doubt he'd begrudge you anything. And who knows, you may just find his shell lying on the roadside tomorrow. He wears mail, uses a spear mostly, maybe 5 feet tall but stout. Long, red beard, short hair, pale face, rarely smiles. Nice, a ginge. She glances at her companion, but after he adds nothing, she sits down and stretches out her legs. So find out what happened to him. Dead, alive, left, just let me know. Before I can continue, I need to ask him about Peninsula and the rope. I'll tell you what I know, says the lieutenant. How long did it take you to get here from the city? On a decent palfrey, I guess it would be 3-4 days. When you confirm, she continues. From here, you can reach the coast in about a day, as long as you don't make any stops. Do you know the situation? Why no ships can get here? You nod. The sea route allows Havlefin officials and to keep in touch with the coastal villages, collect taxes, move soldiers, collect lumber, deliver tools, but maintaining order on a wild coast such as this one is like filling an ocean depths with coins. Because of the rocks, you can hardly stop a ship 5 miles from the shore, and boats don't get much closer. I don't know much about fishing, but there's not that many people living by the shore, and they don't crave to stay in touch with the city folk. As she pauses, her companion carries on. No soul from the north ever came to the camp, but when we travel to the roadside inn, Pelt of the North, they're happy to trade and to play dice. I mean, we're to guard this road, and this camp is our post. And, well, he turns toward Julia. She lowers her voice. Don't take it the wrong way, Leto, but are you a devout soul? Like most city folk, I believe people should unite their strength to overcome threats. Everyone will be judged for both good and evil. He's a part of the United Church. For many years, I've supported a monastery that does its best to advance mankind's spiritual growth. I follow teachings of the Order of Truth. I'm from a small village. For me, the freedom of shell, pneuma, and soul are the main virtues of life. My community is unique and independent. and so are its members. I have a place in my fellowship. I like that one so far. I have a strong connection with nature and spirits and follow the path of my ancestors. Some of my beliefs may be considered sinister or treacherous by city folk. A pagan. There's no evidence that writes. No, I'm not. No, I'm a fellowship guy. Oh, I see. I don't know much about that river of faith, but I'm sure we're not that different. I'm gonna unite myself, she says with a sort of pride in her voice. So she follows the United Church. The people here are disquieting. Every few words she taps the table with her finger. Their traditions won't help them negotiate with officials. Here, she starts to draw lines in her index finger as if she's pointing at an invisible map. The peninsula is dotted. The peninsula is connected with roads, like a big circle. Up in the northwest, you'll find the weird village at a bog. It's not exactly pagan, I don't think. Even if it even has a priest who claims to be an eremite like yourself. They do crazy shit, her companion, Nat, chips in. They use the dead to cut down trees and dig in soil. Once I saw it, I begged to never return there. It's an undead village in the northwest. Gotcha. You've heard tales such as this one since you were a child. If an isolated settlement manages to survive without a city's influence, its customs and traditions grow more and more alien. Every generation learns how to adapt to the dangerous conditions they have to deal with, and the rustic pagan traditions muddy their river of faith. The United Church often warns its members about the crazy druids, necromancers, and blood mages, the bringers of doom, traitors to humankind. You can see why we were not eager to go there if we could avoid it. Maybe they'll be more welcoming to a road warden. The roads are dangerous, and with little to no shelter, people need your help. The man turns a bit and points a finger to the northwest. If you're heading to the undead village, you'll get to an inn first, and soon. Julie nods. The Pelt of the North is a safe place. You can talk with the innkeeper or the guards. Ask them about the road. Hard to tell. We went there only once. There are hills, forests, rivers. We saw a tunnel sculpted in leaves and branches, but we didn't enter it. Wilderness all around. We saw all sorts of beasts. The man starts to count on his fingers. Goblins, treants, cats large and small, runners, howlers, wolves, spiked boars, moflon eaters. That sounds like a pickup line. Bunch of moflon eaters out there. Griffins, but we managed to stay away. Some could catch up with most mounts. Julia glanced at her companion. Though a palfrey should be fine. The trees are so tall that the flying creatures keep to the coast and mountains. There's not that many humans around, and the animals are busy fighting among themselves. They fight more for food than territory. The soldier cracks his knuckles. Don't provoke them and ride fast. Just count on luck. If you were me, where would you go next? The soldier answers quickly. To the inn, of course. He grabs the empty mug. The one northwest from here. If you can't afford the room, the main hall is free of charge. The locals rarely gather there. The northern road is much more traveled. But the hunters will tell you about this and that, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourself. The innkeeper can listen and knows many souls. Avoid cheap jokes. Stick to trade. Don't waste his time. Show him that you can be relied on. You're in luck. She heads towards one of the crates and moves aside a large linen sack revealing a robe. She brings it back and nonchalantly sits down in her chair. Take it. I was planning on leaving it behind. Hey, that's not a good rope. It's a fine rope. Oh, no, I can buy it. I take it and offer some food in return. I mean, come on. Tulia leans forward and rests her forearms on her thighs, looking down with clasped hands and meets her eyes. I normally refuse, but we need some decent food. Every day I'm searching through our groats, looking for worms and pituitary. We forage, but it's not a great spot. Some food rations will brighten up a foggy day. For now, you leave the rope on the table. Okay. We may not be around next time you come here. You may do better than staring at it. Stay vigilant. She winks at you, shattering the mask of a soldier. Well, I mean, I guess I trust them a little bit more after talking to them. You go to the barrel and splash water on your face, which makes you even more aware of how much you need a bath. After the night, it will only get worse. Your horse is already napping, still too anxious to lie down. The soldier in the shirt is eager to guide you. Just observe the area. There's plenty of griffins around, but they won't try to jump over the palisades. Probably. Better watch out for the apes. They climb up and carry out any food they can find. And there's this one really loud were-elk that keeps smelling the wall, though it's never tried to get in. Oh, great. So monkeys, griffins, and were-elk. He points at a gate. The lieutenant and I will block the entrances. They're quite heavy, so if anyone comes here looking for shelter, better call us to help you out. And if this someone is being chased by wolves, better throw them a rope instead. If it gets cold, feel free to make a fire, and the best place on the watchtower, if you want, put up a blanket or something. And the best place is on the watchtower, you may want to put up a blanket. I don't even see a watchtower here. He gives you a long look. Oh, they're here. He points at a pile of crates. Just climb to the tallest one, you'll have great view, but you know you won't be able to spot any movement under the southern part of the palisade. You put on your blanket on the tallest crate and sit down. The night is warm, but the sporadic summer breeze brings gentle refreshment. From time to time your back aches, and you have to force yourself to keep your eyes open. The light of the moon helps you focus on the tall grass. For the most of the time, you spot smaller critters and birds. There are exceptions. At one point you see a 3-horned deer trying to challenge one another. Oh, not a, just several. Before they clash their antlers, a 2-legged dragonling appears, but leading to a much smaller offspring. The furry beasts try to intimidate the predator with roars and aggressive head movements. After a few moments, both sides walk away slowly, not willing to risk a fight nor admit their defeat. You hear the death screams of distant prey and the mating calls of monkeys. Runners are chasing a great hare. The group of musk oxen lazily chew the grass, preparing themselves to sleep. A dusk fox is running together with a lynx, making playful screeches. Thankfully, you never have to intervene. You just sit there, watching the not-so-distant forest, trying to outlast your sleepiness. You can only guess how much this time has passed. Once you feel you've had enough, you climb down to a tent, waking the bearded man with just a couple of words. You confirm nothing important has happened. You aren't used to sleeping in such harsh conditions, but it's better than nothing. The weather is gentle, maybe you won't catch a cold. The stars instantly inspire your dreams, both with their splendor and by making you look for patterns and shapes among them. Your job starts tomorrow. The Merchant Guild wants to take control of this realm. Your wardening duties are secondary. First and foremost, you need to explore the peninsula. Learn about the territory, resources, and threats. Get to know the locals, and if you can, convince them to consider negotiations with Hovlevind officials and traders. Could the tribes resist the soldiers, or be a threat to the priests of the United Church? Are there any forbidden practices that need to be eradicated, such as blood magic, necromancy, robbery, or slavery? Once you've finished your reconnaissance, you should speak with Julian and return to Hovlevind. There you'll report back to your employers and get your reward. In the meantime, you have your own goal to pursue. Gather coins. Extra coins I can retire early. If I gather enough connections along with this, you can become a major player. I want to be remembered as a solo piece. Yeah, no thanks. I just want to help people make this region safer. I need to find a new way of life. I like that one. Your half-asleep senses are catching the sounds of the wild forest. Your instincts keep you alert and anxious. Through the pleasant, humid, late summer air evens it out slowly. You're thinking about your goal, but you need to gather your strength. Okay, sleep. Sleep on the ground. Your blanket won't be much of a bed. Sleeping here will be severely uncomfortable. I guess it is what it is. I'm gonna need to get some water. I didn't think I'd be reading this much. One moment, getting water. Okie dokie. You take a look at your ambulance. For most people, they would be nothing more than trash, but you wouldn't sell them for a pouch of dragon bones. You use them to shape Numa at your will. With these little mementos, the few spells you're familiar with are far more reliable. Who knows, maybe there's already some power held in them. You look at the old, though clean bandages and remember dozens of herbal balms and wounds. You can put them on your hurting muscles, bruises, scratches, then hum an old song about time, which either heals all wounds or kills us too soon to let us bother with our problems. Yikes. After a few hours, the linen will warm up, confirming it did its job. Maybe you'll even allow the pain of sleeping on the ground, though you'd lose some of your energy. But how do you feel? Well, no penalties and bonuses. You don't stand out. You won't get much cleaner without a bath. Numa. I'm okay. I don't really want to do that preemptively. You should take a break. You're surrounded by sunlight. Your back begs you to stand up. Before you're fully awake, you smell a roast. No, just burning meat. Let me actually make a little change here. Since it's not going to be any kind of mouse or keyboard stuff, it's all mouse. I'll move the mic a little bit closer. You stand up. Normally you would dust off your cape and blanket, but your instincts are stronger than your routine. Your horse is looking around nervously. Your bags are where you'd left them. You see an open gate. Both soldiers are standing near a humble pyre. The man in the shirt looks at it contemplatively. Tulia is the first one to address you. Leto. We've used the horse's manure for the flames, so don't worry about cleaning it up. You see a corpse among the flames. It's impossible to tell if it belongs to a male or a female, but it was an adult. The burning process won't be over for a couple more hours. The latter, a young one, she lacked the pneuma to understand that she couldn't get inside this camp without climbing. I stabbed her with a spear from a safe distance. Damn. One more fog and she'd be a real threat. Even now it took a couple of hits to knock her down. Sooner or later, every human shell wakes up, gaining more strength with each soul it devours, and each moment it spends in the fogs. Burning the dead is not just a religious practice, it's a necessity. Soldiers, priests, village mayors, even road wardens. Making a large pyre takes a lot of time, but it saves lives. Tulia calls this undead a she. Most Unites hesitate to do so. Running away from the reek, huh? I don't blame you. Find us here if you learn what happened to Astarion. We leave once the fall comes, if not sooner. Safe travels. These words make you stop. An old farewell, mocked in a number of songs and tales, but yet you hear no scorn in Tulia's voice. She observes the fire with one hand on her hip, the other on her chin. You somehow miss the fact that your mount is already saddled and warmed up. You double-check the equipment, but you don't need to fix anything. The soldiers were diligent. Normally, preparing any palfrey for a long journey takes lots of time. You put on your gambeson and make sure that the axe is tightly attached to your belt. Then get in the saddle. The palfrey nickers, ready to leave. It's time for you to get to the crossroads, north from here. Use the travel button, to see the map and move to another area. North it is. What choice do I have? Even at a later hour, you wouldn't expect to meet any travelers in the valley. The warm summer breeze lures your mount forward, but the serene chirping of birds is quickly replaced by the distracting screeches and gurgles coming from down the path. You soon find a pack of four-legged griffins. They're larger than the foxes and merge the features of birds and furred beasts. Each one is a different size, coat, and colors, and their temperaments are just as varied. The fronts are covered with vivid feathers, while their rears have darker fur. Their wings are massive, making them impressive jumpers, but they're too heavy to fly. About 24 beasts are yelling, brawling, and chasing each other around, blocking your path. You can't enter the forest blindly. If these or other creatures were to chase you, the thicket would be disastrous for your horse. There are reasons why travelers stay as close to the main roads as possible, and why adventurers move in groups. Usually the safest approach would be to stay where you are and just wait for the pack to get hungry. It may, however, take up a couple of hours. You're thinking about your conversation with Tulia. You got a lot to do, and time may be of the essence. Let's see, if you have enough Numa, you can cast spells to access unique interactions. I take my axe and hurry the horse. If we ride fast enough, we should be fine. Stay here, better safe than sorry. Hold on, let me take a look here. Do I grab an amulet, shape a missile of light? A harmless flare will frighten them off. How many Numa do I have? 4 to 5? Let's do that. You grab one of your oldest amulets, a pendant made of leather and single dim pearl. The little sphere is covered by cryptic engravings, but if there's any special meaning behind them, you were never able to find out what it could be. Holding the pearl between your fingers, you feel the pleasant, familiar warmth. The spell you're about to cast is not much more than a mere illusion, but you take a couple of breaths, trying to minimize any risk of failure. The Numa leaves your shell, formed into a white ball that you could barely comprehend. When it falls next to the griffins for a couple of blinks, it emits dazzling light. The animals squeak and snarl, fleeing in multiple directions at once. The road is now clear. I don't think I would have had that option if I wasn't a mage. It's got an achievement. Cool. The road splits. According to what the soldiers have told you, you may find a safe inn by turning left. The forest to the right is lush and the tail is overgrown. Kids used to have this song. How did it go? The harshest pathway leads to the dragon's lair. Those who search for treasure, do you truly dare? The signpost in front doesn't make your situation much clearer. It was put here by someone who can't write, for folks who can't read. Covered in old red paint, it points east. Blood there, as people say. Danger to be found. There's not a soul to ask for guidance. Sodal, it's fine. Sodal is peaceful as you stroke his mane. Maybe it can't help you choose a path, but you spent many years together. Happy to go on, it takes a couple of steps forward. You spot a few berry shrubs and wild cabbages, but they still need at least a week or two to gain maturity. Okay. I can take a break. I think west was where we're going, right? Yeah, let's go west to the inn. Sadal travels with ease, unbothered by the few branches covering the beaten road. The bird songs and distant howls draw your attention to the forest, which gets sparser and brighter. You spot boars, roe deer, and saurians. The sight of a nearby wolf pack worries you, but once you push your hips forward into your palfrey, enters the canter. But once you push your hips forward and your palfrey enters a canter, the beasts don't even begin pursuit. The speed alone will protect you from many dangers. You notice a small stone tower, taller than the trees. Time to get in. Inns like this one fit the regions traveled by merchants, but you wouldn't expect a place of this size on a forsaken peninsula. The stone and lumber must have been transported from far away, and the workers, guarded by expensive mercenaries, surely lived for many seasons in a primitive hamlet, subsisting on salted supplies. There are seemingly no cracks in the wall, and the building was whitewashed only a few years back. The road is wide and beaten. Dozens of souls could hide if not for the buildings. Then at least the yard. Then at least, if not for the buildings, then at least in the yard. The expenses and labor put into this fortress were worth many trading ships. 3 armed people are on the ramparts, though you see only what's above their waistline. They're leaning on the parapet, right next to the gate, and you notice a glimpse of a smile. They were Gamisons. Each one of them died differently. Yellow, green, and linen gray. A woman in yellow armor leans forward. She has long, curly, disorderly red hair, pointing in every possible direction. This combination of colors doesn't work at all. In the woods, one would have to shout to draw this much attention. There's still a fair distance between the two of you, but she speaks loudly. I hadn't seen a horse for 3 years. I hadn't seen a horse for years now. I just said it's weird to see such a large jackass. Her voice is young and strong with the accent that reminds you of the villages spread around Hovleven. But no jackass would wear a saddle, I'd say. She exchanges a few words with the male guard wearing green, giving you time to move closer. Well, this one here says there really are donkey saddles. Say, traveler, how hard is it to ride a horse? She's out there having a good time. I'm going to be playful too. I laugh. You wouldn't believe it. The lessons were a pain. You get off your horse and imitate the silly walk from the day that followed your first long journey, when your whole shell was crying. You illustrate the pain as you move your hand from your back to your hips and thighs. In return, the guards tell you about the time they had to carry their friend with bitten off legs for 3 days straight through the heart of the woods. Meanwhile, the other guards open the gate. You may be in a good mood. The woman in the yellow jacket smiles at you. But don't get so noisy when you talk to our boss. The man never smiles. He has the world's suffering sculpted on his face. Yeah, they did say that. She leads you under the roof. Under the roof, under which your palfrey can rest, tethered to a cord to a wooden post near some old hay. Once you're ready, go inside, speak with our boss. Maybe you're hungry? The other guards take care of various chores. They peek at your mount every now and again as they're splitting firewood, cleaning their clothes, weeding the garden patches, and moving chairs. 2 of them are making a rope. You head towards the inn, hearing the piercing scream of a boar from the other side of the yard. The locked windows make the air stuffy, and the weak fire in the stove hardly lightens up the hall. A muscular man is sweeping the floor near the stairs, but after he glances at you, he leans the broom against the wall and heads behind the counter. You're lucky to show up. His voice is deep and soft with a city-like accent. He observes you with keen attention, yet avoids your eyes. I have a keg of Easton ale, wormwood, bog myrtle, juniper berries, cat's foot. That's a paw. It's not a foot, but whatever. He fills a mug carefully and puts it down on the countertop. It's going to spoil soon. Today, baby. We don't drink here before the even. I hate to see the good stuff going to waste. His skin is dark, almost purple, rare even among the southern tribes, and his hair is naturally bluish. His clothes are quite fancy for manual labor. The elegant tunic wouldn't stand out in the city square, yet he's the boss. The planks let out a creak with every step you make, so you slow down a bit. You can swear that the innkeeper made little to no noise. Here you go. He pushes a mug forward. But just so you know, my pelt of the north doesn't belong in Hovleven. You can sleep on the floor if you wish to, but if you want a bed or a meal, you have to pay. We may have some leftovers from dinner, but I need to check. How much money do I have? Can I check that? I have 10 coins, right? Yeah, 10 coins. Yikes. I won't stay here for long. He nods and fills another mug, this time with water. I guess there's no point in waiting for Astarion, then. I'm glad to see someone taking his place. Even my crew here hits the road only if they need to see healers of Howler's Dell. They're more than resourceful. A road warden is always going to find work here in the north, though it may be not on the eastern road. He takes a mouthful of water and drinks it with a pleased sigh. There's no guests here at this time, or hardly ever. I can take a short break. For a brief moment he meets your eyes. The dark room and wooden walls of the mug make the liquid look as brown as a chestnut. The lee in the spring hits your nose, and the first sip is even too complex, too flowery. When the brewer has used fancy ingredients, the exotic licorice ruins the aftertaste. Now you know why there's so much left. Maybe it takes an acquired taste. The innkeeper nods. I was hoping to see someone willing to patrol the roads. Maybe you'll help me with some worrying thought that I have. There are brigands in the woods. Our place is a stronghold, so I'm not afraid of an open strike, but they've got more active in the last few years. One day they may steal our furs, and I've no doubt they're the reason why merchants come here only once. Having bandits around gets expensive. He rubs his hands together, camouflaging his paws. I want you to reach Howler's Dell, northwest of here. It's the largest settlement around. I'm sure you'll get there sooner or later. Ask Taze, the mayor, about Glossia. That sounds like a water brand. The blood, the bloodthirsty wolf of a woman. I've heard rumors about a raid in the north. Glossia is ready to break the truce with the locals. I'm willing to join forces with them and get rid of her band. He looks at a nearby dragon bone. Not too difficult, right? Just do it when you have a chance. A couple of days won't make much of a difference. I'll pay you 2 coins when you get back with the news. Fine? Great. What else do you need? I'm looking for Astarion. Alright now. He goes to the table and invites you to sit down with him. I don't think I'm going to be much help. He rests his elbow on the tabletop and grunts quietly to clear his throat. But I do want you to find him, so. When asked about his intentions, he measured his words. Astarion and I made a risky deal. Well, a very promising one. Last time he was here, he took 50 coins. My half of the investment. He knocks on the table with a fist anxiously. If you get my coin, or at least find out what happened to the guy, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed after bringing me news. Could it be that he ran away? He looks at a window and starts to play with a shutter. I just think Astarion ain't the kind of soul that would do such a thing. For him, it wasn't much of a fortune, and I'd risk saying he earned my trust. Not only mine, you know, it's easy for a road warden to make connections. He always had places to go, things to take care of. He rubs the table with his thumb, as if trying to clean an invisible stain. I've asked travelers. I sent a couple of my pals to find him. No real news. I know he stayed at the White Marshes for a day and was meant to do something for the people there. It's a village in the northwest. Just stay on the main road till you reach the bogs, then enter them. You may get there before dusk. So, let me know once you find anything, and we might yet return to this whole investment thing. What can anyone say? This place doesn't even have a name, unless there's an old book in an archive that no soul knows about. You know what I'd call everything from here to the coast? The hunting ground. But it's not us who hunt, keep that in heart, but the beasts, in all shapes and forms. His words gain confidence slowly, which is strengthened by his deep voice. I've lived in this inn for over 10 years now, and I've only seen a couple of roads, a couple of places. It's just, once you get here and you see how harsh it is to hit the road, you only have more reasons to stay at home by the warm stove, behind a wall, even if it's suffocating. I'm sure you've heard a lot already, that people don't build hamlets anymore, that there are no more ibexes from the south, and the traders stay for only a few days. All of our iron is used in cauldrons, not swords or tools. Pretty much. Don't leave the main road, I'd say. Not so far from here you'll find an old dolmen. A few of my people had to spend a night there, and monkeys stole food and gods from their bags. It was their fault. One of them had fallen asleep in the middle of his watch, but, you know. The eastern forests are wild. The roads are rough. Almost no soul lives there. One day all these roads will be swallowed by the trees again. The furthest my team has ever gone to the home of the Enchantress was the home of the Enchantress. Just stay on track until you reach the crossroads, right near the abandoned watchtower. From there, turn east. You'll recognize the place. It's a nice home in a lonely meadow surrounded by a wall. Then looks at you again. Kind of like our walls, but simpler, without coating. She lives a hermit, Eudocia, yeah. I don't even know how she survives out there. But if you don't have a decent coin, you won't find much there. So back to the crossroads. If you turn left instead, you'll see a road. People stay away from it. It connects to the tower and the monastery, a shortcut between the two sides of the peninsula. I was warned by the locals not to use it. It already belongs to the beasts. I only know about another inn. It's far from here, maybe a day on foot, maybe a bit less from the eastern side. I've never been there, but I've heard it's a safe place, close to the villages of fishers and hunters, though I don't know much about them. Well, there are hills nearby, and you'll find a village, maybe an hour from here. It was destroyed by beasts almost a decade ago. Nothing to see there. The goblins live there now, so most people travel around it. And they say it's haunted, but who knows? Who cares? He crosses his arms and starts to sway back and forth, gathering his thoughts. You'll get to a large tree on the edge of the swamp. For locals, it's sacred. You're not used to hearing someone mentioning pagans as if it's something unusual about them. There's a small path south, which leads to an old mine in the mountains. Nothing to find there. But keep riding north and you'll find Howler's Dell. Set at a clean brook. Farmers live there. And Moflins and Druids. They'll let you stay for a night, but they're not cheap. If anyone thinks my prices are bad, they ain't been to Ape Ale yet. I only know a bit about the next settlement, Old Pagos. The soil there ain't too fertile, so they work their quarry and help other settlements build things in exchange for crops. The forests and hills aren't too harsh, but the Seekers have a small monastery nearby up in the mountains. I don't care much about them. They keep to themselves and they don't pay well. The third village is unknown to me. White Marshes. Set at the bogs, I've heard it smells like a Griffith's lair. I've heard a lot of nasty rumors about the place, but I won't share them. I don't want to be a lie spreader. So 3 villages, really. Howler's, the one near the monastery, whatever it's called, and the Marshes. Don't let their beds and palisades fool you, though. Weird people live there. Don't tell them any more than you need to. You wonder if it's something he would tell other travelers as well. Free to observe your hands. He wants me to get an answer from Mayor Holiday. Oh, okay, that's fine. Thanks, dog. You step outside. Sodal is fighting off the flies with its tail. This hour, the armorer's workshop is closed. The woman in yellow armor is kneeling next to a brown, hairy boar, which is resting on its side. The beast is not as large as the dark ones from the forest. It responds to the touch of the human's hands and brush with a dreadful grunting and rapid twitches of a hind hoof. No matter how friendly it appears, it's still tethered to the well, and you have no doubts about its charge would leave Sodal dead in a breath. When the woman notices you, she steps forward to the boy's disappointment. So, the new road warden. She points at a window with her chin, forestalling the question. We don't need anything now, but when we travel with our furs, we can use some assistance. She may be around 30, but her warm voice and bright smile are camouflaging the touch of time on her unpowdered face. Like many red-haired people with freckles, her skin is unhealthily pale. The boar runs up to her, observing your boots and fruitlessly sniffing for food beneath the beaten ground. She pats its back, but maintains her focus. How about a game or two? We have a bit of time and can talk for a bit about this and that. Maybe we'll get a couple of coins. Or lose one. We could play dice or throw axes. I don't really have time. Right, kind of thought so. Road wounds are always busy, aren't they? Better hope you'll have a day of rest sometime. You return to the courtyard. Alright. The recently renovated wooden roof covers the well from rain and birds. One of the guards is enjoying a cold drink he drew with a bucket and tells you to use only as much water as necessary. You need at least one piece of bathing equipment to get it. That sucks. Alright. Time to go. Alright, west it is. I don't know what east is, but east sounds crazy dangerous. The road uphill meanders, slowing you down and forcing you to pay close attention, not only to the shadows of trees, but also the tight, rocky passages. You can't help but notice a few caves and find ambush spots. Roll for perception. Standing in front of the gate, you hear no voices, no tools at work, no steps. Dozens of birds live among the collapsed roofs. They're fluttering, singing, squawking as free of worries. If you travel any further, you'll need to ride around the palisade. Searching these ruins may take a lot of time. The broken gate in the north will lead you to the village. The sound of a gentle river reaches you from the east, where you see a saggy fence surrounding an overgrown pasture. Behind the burnt building, you see an oddly barren field. Hold on. Approach the building near the field, so behind the burned building in the east. Building in the field, take a look at the gate, move forward. The palisade is in good shape, and the entrance wasn't even touched by the fire. It was torn away, possibly thrown. The amount of force used must have been huge, but you expect that it would push the gate into the village, not away from it. You don't see any marks of a dragon bite. A troll could toss such planks, but after so many years, you'd see no paw prints. A mage? You can't really tell. The broken logs and planks are charred, while wooden walls are rotten and covered in moss. You see no ashes or dust, proving that the fire happened long ago. The smell is awful, and there's no reason to stay here for long. You see no furniture, just some broken shelves. Okay. Yeah, we're just going west. I don't want to go anywhere near the goblins. You're surrounded by what look like fields plowed in late autumn, disturbed by hundreds of rains and snowfalls. There's few clumps of grass and wheat, but in a place like this one, abandoned for years, should have already turned itself into a green lea. A barren field? Maybe it was overused, but you would still expect the weeds to sprout. Curse maybe? The path leading west from here ends at the edge of the field, shifting into a meadow, then a forest. In the north, you see a path leading around the palisade. Sense that there's Numa buried in this place. I don't really have time for that. You feel a slight aching in your stomach. Where do you go? No, I just want to go west, man. I expect the palisade. I return to the barren fields in the southwest. Oof, the tracks of human footwear and many, many more ape footprints are cover the path formed around the palisade's breach. As far as you can tell, the freshest footprints lead to the village. The wooden stakes spread on the ground are rotten, covered in mushrooms, small flowers, insects, and worms. A good source of animal or goblin food. They'd expect them to also hunt for birds and eggs. The meadow in the west turns into the forest quickly. The grasses in the north surround dozens of tree stumps already covered with moss and fungi, and they're deforesting it. Going south, you'll reach a large field, though you don't see any crops. Okay, clearing in the west. The meadow is lush and colorful, and so dense it's unsafe for a rider. For a couple of minutes, you lead Sodal with a rope, avoiding the potential disaster in case of a hoof falling into an animal den. Being forced to travel on the palisade every time is going to be a pain. Most of the tree trunks look similar and have a comparable size. They were most likely planted with the sole purpose of being cut down and used by the locals, though cutting so many trees at once, that alone could provoke the wrath of herds. Such a process should be spread out across a couple of seasons, and you can't be sure that was the case. In the west and the north, the clearing turns into a wild forest. In the east, you see a road leading north. I don't want to go into the village. I don't want to go there. The barren fields. I inspect the pasture. Let's go north. You're at the closed northern gate. The neglected road is partially overgrown. You hear a river in the east, separated by the lush meadow, filled with crickets and rodents. Doesn't move an inch. Someone has spread dirt and rocks both underneath and around it, seeming to keep the planks stuck in the ground. Let's go to the river. Let's get us some nice food. You see a quenching family of boars, some of them brown, some of them black. You consider turning back, but they pay you little attention. After a few grunts, they run north. The river is not too wide, yet unusually deep, with banks altered by the locals for decades, if not centuries. The water is cold and clean, yet filled with long plants growing from the bottom. You would rather avoid jumping inside or drinking from it, but you're tempted to at least wash your face, neck, and hands. Dozens, if not hundreds, of small fish are looking for tasty leaves, but also to try to avoid predators. A dance of life, completely unaware of your presence. You suddenly realize there's something else buried among the kelp. a rusty sickle sticking out of the ground, a couple of stone axes and hoes. The wooden handles and a large wagon wheel are the wooden handles and a large wagon are covered up with moss, but you recognize their shapes. Why would someone drop them here? On the opposite bank, the meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. The living stream of plants won't help you much. You need at least one piece of bathing equipment. Fuck me. I need to buy some. I need to buy a loofah. No, 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 no. I can't go north. Alright, back to the southwest. Here's passable path on the palisade. Oh my god, I don't know what to do here. We're just literally going up and then back, and then now we're gonna go this way. You don't find a single sign of livestock that lived here in the past. Any bones, horns, antlers, or dung have already been devoured by the wilderness. The pasture ends near the river. On the opposite bank, the meadow turns into a thick forest, impenetrable for a rider. What are the chances that a herd of defenseless animals could get there and survive? The breach in the southern fence wasn't made by some brute force. You find axe cuts in the spots that were ultimately broken away after all these years. Yeah, it's can't do anything here. I don't want to go into the towns. We're full of goblins, so let's just get the fuck away. Yeah. West. You went to the wetlands with their many streams, ponds, and fish. Large birds run and fly between the gray sparse trees that are covered with moss, mushrooms, and critters. For a human, it may be an unwelcoming, harsh realm, but the overwhelming swarms of insects proves that it's full of life. The realm's full of life. The danger, with teeth and claws, is hidden below the water's surface. This plant shouldn't be alive, not without leaves. It doesn't resemble the other trees in the wetlands. It's something else. You get off your horse and prepare your axe. The water is filled with dirt and dead plants, and it smells like an old corpse. The roots are spreading far, breaking through the water's surface. You don't see any saurians in the grasses or on the shore. You approach the table-like altar, made of three limestone slabs. Were these rocks originally as formless as they are now? Or was there a point in time centuries ago when they were precisely shaped and decorated by masters of artistry? There's no way to tell. Sodal is peacefully observing the dark grass and slapping flies with its tail. Whatever it is that you feel in the air, it's clear that your companion sees this place through very different eyes. You step cautiously. Without knowing how deep it gets, you have to consider that a saurian can be camouflaged in the mud, waiting for a victim to get near. Since you don't plan to kneel down and drink, you're hoping to dodge a potential strike. Once you get closer, you start breathing again. While the water is dirty, it's also shallow. You see vegetation, swimming insects, and even small fish. All of them stay away from the tree roots, which look like a spider web covering the bottom of the pond. Aside from that, you don't see anything that would catch your attention. You kneel in front of the one that's lying on the shore. It's brown, covered with hair that resembles that on your arm. When you touch it, it's moist, soft, and warmer than you'd expect. There's clumped dirt in the uneven nicks, fused by years of winds and rains. The bottom surface of the table is dusty, but you don't see any spiderwebs or mold, even though it's a perfect spot for them. The tree roots cling to the altar in many spots. They're firmly attached. You struggle to move them even by an inch. The cream-colored limestone is cold and smooth. I only have 2 more. That's fine, we don't need it. Let's keep going. I might You know, I might end up asking someone else about that. North. You slow down. Among the shrubs, a small pack of dragonlings is feasting on the carcass of a gray auroch. One of them, with red feathers on its arm, straighten up and gives you a curious glance. Its head tilts left and right, forward and back. It screeches at you, but doesn't move forward, and returns to its meal. You wondered what would happen if you were on foot. Would they let you be satisfied? Would they let you be satisfied with their prey? Or would they run after you? But if so, for what reason? For now, you have enough space to move forward, yet stay safe. The powerful jaws break the monster's bones loudly, then bite off and swallow chunks of meat. Let's go around. I want nothing to do with that. The beaten road serves your palfrey well, and the forest on your left becomes sparse and brighter, and there are dozens of human-made paths among the fruit-bearing trees. On your right, there's a large pasture, with at least a dozen massive mouflons. I guess those are like cows. 2 of them already sheared. Okay, they're like sheep. Look comically small. Soon after that, you ride west alongside vast, flourishing fields filled with rye, still green, preparing itself patiently for the second harvest. The path ends with a massive wooden gate. The stone wall separating you from the glow of the lights behind it isn't as tall as the roofs, but you can't imagine climbing to its top. There are pretty much no cracks, no missing bricks, a sign of many hours of labor, especially considering how massive the settlement is, as wide as a city district. The birds and monkeys are now just a distant echo, replaced by the sounds of carts, running, hammers, saws, laughter, and shouts, finally. A young man is leaning against the closed gate, covered by his shadow. He's young, tanned, and has short, elegantly trimmed red beard. Everyone's got red hair here, huh? Beneath the green gambeson, he wears an expensive tunic, decorated with colorful trim. From his arms hangs a steel helmet, though the metal is so thin it's mostly made of wool and leather. He moves into the light and takes the posture of a disciplined soldier, not a mercenary. He's standing upright with his chin up. There are 2 weapons on the ground, leaning on the wooden beams of the gate, an axe made of steel and a wooden club. He doesn't reach for either. You dismount smoothly, still having some vigor left. Sadal holds its tail high. A narrow path leads north. So that's this one. Towards 2 field workers, one with a hoe and one with a pitchfork. They wave to you. You can't see their faces, but their clothes are simple. Gray pants and vests made from hemp and wool. They talk for a bit, looking towards you and pointing at your mount, then walk away, disappearing behind the wall's corner. The guard smiles, yet avoids your eyes, and has to clear his throat before he speaks. Welcome, traveler. If you're here to make trouble, Howler's Dell welcomes you. If you're not here to make trouble, Howler's Den welcomes you. We have the whitest flower there is. When he bows, you realize it's a well-practiced performance. If it's new garments you're looking for, you can order everything you need right here, in all colors, shapes, and sizes. Capes, boots, vests, robes. Or, if you're yourself a master of the needle, I can assure you we have the fabric you're looking for. His act is over and he glances at your mount in a moment of silence. His eyes get wider as he observes it with childlike fascination. This is Sodal. You can pet its side with some movements. He follows your instructions, even though the palfrey pays no attention to the man's careful touch. The guard grins widely. A city folk, eh? The mayor's busy, but I'll ask her. Give us a moment to let you in. He knocks at the gate, which is then pulled inwards by 2 other guards, a man and a woman, wearing their own gambesons, similarly green but tailor-made to match their figures. The nearby buildings are simple houses made of wooden beams and covered with thatch, while the storehouse is an even more modest and roof made of planks. The watchtower has a ladder made of ropes and sticks, but no stairs. Just give me a moment. The guard strides away before he finishes the last word. The others close the gate behind you and observe your mount carefully. Your eyes turn east, to a humming creek through the center of the village. Calming sound, eh? That's Howler's Creek. The guard, like most of the locals, is taller than you. Wide but shallow. There's never been a flood in years. Pa told me there used to be nae bridges. Like no bridges. Neighbors crossed it with their boots in their hands. And 'tis clean like a raindrop. But there are no moving fish. Oh my god. We're the cleanest village in the north, her companion chuckles brightly. When the guard returns, he's still alone. She can come now. She can not come now. A friend of mine is in labor, eh? Aye. The mayor wants to be there when the child arrives, but I was asked to show you the village. He approaches the watchtower. Tie your mount here and keep the kids away. Most of the neighbors are getting ready to celebrate. Once you're done, he grabs the rope ladder. The view from up there is gorgeous. Oh, that's what he says. Even though the ladder swings in all directions, the guard gets to the top quickly, like a monkey climbing up creepers. You, on the other hand, need to stop and wait for the ladder to calm itself. When you join the man on the wooden platform, you feel a bit dizzy. He's leaning on the wooden parapet, observing the area with a smile. See, there's no place like Owler's Den, Dell. The guard points in every direction, giving you no time to contemplate. For the next few minutes, he describes the fields, the crops, the flocks in their pastures, the shepherds inspecting the fences, the ancient gardens of trees and bushes, larger than the village itself, the sunlight dancing on the stream to its own tune. If you were to believe in everything he describes, this place has access to everything in abundance. The sweetest honey, the most fragrant bread, the softest wool. And the beer, 'tis excellent. He sounds like a city merchant who's trying to sell an old house. What an annoying kid. Near Hovlevin, you could find 5 larger amateur settlements in less than 2 days. No wonder he's so proud. Why wouldn't he be? They've tamed this scrap of land and live in comfort. I mean, I don't really buy either, but I'm going to go ahead and say this one. Let me go ahead and see if my cat wants to come inside real fast. The islet in the middle connects both parts of the village. According to the man, the northern gate is hardly ever opened, as it leads to nowhere now. Near the eastern gate, there's the Ape Ale Inn, so eastern gate, I guess that's right there. That's probably the inn right there. The Ape Ale Inn, where I've been told that prices are really expensive. Where you can find a bed and victuals. And there's the stall where Akakios rewards our work unless we annoy him with pointless talk. On the opposite side of the creek, there's another white house. It belongs to Beon, the best clothier in the north. The priests live in the southeast near the wall, but they do not talk to strangers. Southeast near the wall. So probably somewhere in this area. You also hear about the hunter, the cooper, the fisher, the miller, the pie maker that lives with his sister, the baker, the smith and her husband, the carpenter live with their kids. Some of the larger buildings could accommodate 2, maybe even 3 generations at once. There could be more than 100 dwellers here. You consider stopping his speech, but he suddenly points at the islet again. There, see? The mayor's coming. The one wearing purple. You're free to join her. You try to get down quickly, but the steps are enough to make you sure that it's a bad idea. You wait for the ladder to find its balance, and you're relieved when you touch the ground again. You untie your palfrey and follow the guard. You pass a small pasturage surrounded by a wooden fence and a few loose chickens and a tethered boar. The fancier buildings are covered with whitewash coating and surrounded with vegetables, herbs, and flowers. The bridges are wide enough to carry even a wagon, but for Sadal, walking on the wooden beams is far from pleasant. The islet is empty, but you notice an empty stall pointed with the shapes of colorful flowers. So this is the river right here. So I think I entered from the south, so it's probably right there. That must be the rope ladder that I went up. Across the second bridge, I guess up here, like this. Along the entire path, you notice more and more people observing you, smiling, or casually greeting you as they're focused on their own tasks. Finally, you reach the main square. What would constitute a main square here? Not to be, mean. A large tree grows in the center. Okay, large tree grows in the center. Okay, could be this one, I guess? Surrounded by dark water. That doesn't help me. Held together by a thin wall, perfect for sitting, but the smell coming from the liquid makes you think of rotten eggs. The plant reminds you of the tree you saw in the south, next to the swamp altar. In the north, you see the Ape Ale Inn, judging by the tables, stools, and benches outside of it. It's open for guests. The villagers are chatting and dining loudly, and you catch their curious glances. On the side of the dining area, the merchant is arguing with a tall, broad-shouldered worker. An old man is sitting by himself eating a pie, with a walking stick leaning against the table. A young woman is cleaning the empty mugs in the creek, speaking with a man at least twice her age, maybe your father. There's a wide wooden roof right next to the gate that shelters carts, crates, and sacks. You move your mount next to a donkey to a beam placed here just for this purpose. Without a moment of hesitation, Sadal starts to chew on a nearby haystack. Gives some time to make sure it doesn't struggle with your bundles. She's sitting on a chair with a 4-year-old boy on her knees. She's holding his hands gently, showing him how to eat gruel from a bowl. It's not cheat meal, though. You spot nuts, berries, and milk. The added honey makes it yellowish. The kid is clean and quiet, and once he notices your arrival, he crams his mouth with a spoonful of oats. Now, love, the mayor titters. Do not get distracted. She rubs the meal off his face. A few more spoons, and you'll go help Papa in the kitchen, aye? She gives you a radiant, though apologetic smile, and turns her attention back to her companion. Yeah, probably because I look dirty as shit. Her long, full-sleeve linen dress must have been dyed once in blue and once in red to achieve its dark, fancy purple, which would draw looks even in Havlevin. From her left shoulder hangs a green woolen cape, as thin as a shawl. The brown belt on her waist has a large steel buckle that portrays a running deer with unrealistically large antlers, growing in all directions like tree branches. Unlike her tribe's folk, she's pale, with powdered and rouged cheeks, and her lips match her outfit, though they're a bit closer to a wine red. The thick, gray strands in her long blonde hair look more like a fashion choice than as a result of aging. Her eyes are the color of her cape, keen and vigorous. She's shorter than most people around, though would still be the tallest woman in most of the northern settlements. While she's around 40, her slim hands add fragility to her appearance, even though her posture is upright, her legs confidently crossed, and her delicate voice assertive. She makes plenty of gestures, but her shoulders hardly ever move. After a few more minutes, the boy lets out a gentle cough, and after a pat on the back, the mayor puts him on the ground. You did a great job, love, but now I need to speak with our guest, darling. She addresses one of the inn workers, a girl close to 15. Take him to father, will you? Her tone suddenly gets firmer, leaving no hint of a question or suggestion. Yes, ma. She responds. Both her hair and her eyes are nothing like those of her brother, and neither of the kids resemble their mother. Adoptive family. So we have a road warden again. Please sit down. She vaguely shows you the palm of her open hand, letting you pick any place you want. You have a good look at the inn's front door, leading to a cellar-like ground floor. Ugh. It's dark with crates and barrels covered with fruits, nuts, and vegetables. The actual inn is upstairs, but the only people who get to go in and out are the workers, most of whom are teenagers. The mayor observes your outfit carefully, at first looking at you as if you just ate an onion, but then puts on a polite smile. Once your eyes meet, she hardly ever looks away. I'm sure you're hungry. My husband will bring us something soon. No one mentioned hunger makes me peevish, and the day is too nice for that. She taps her chest and looks at a flock of birds that are above you, heading south. As we're waiting, be so good as to help me understand something. Ever, if you're but a mercenary, I can imagine a single reason you chose this realm for your wardening. Not so long after Asterian's disappearance, there's neither glory nor treasure to find here. Her pale fingers form a tent on her stomach, then clasp, leaving the four fingers pointing at you. You were sent here by the merchants. They want the peninsula. I portray the situations like this again. Guilty as charged. We are. You answer with a loud whisper and raise your hands to the level of your chest, introducing yourself. You touch on the more obvious sides of the potential deal with Guild and the city chief, the troops, their pay, the patrols would establish, the overview of taxes, but you keep adding more or less successful puns and casual phrases. The merchants would bring new life to this place, and not just them, but the acrobats and bards as well. I get it, the mayor says with a smile. Even though she shared a giggle or two with you, she didn't interrupt your speech. She takes a deep breath and moves her hair from her shoulder to her back, looking at your palfrey. And sure, if it was just that, I'd ask you where to sign, but it never is that simple, is it? Her eyes fill up with melancholy. I appreciate your coming with a carrot, not with stick. But when it comes to the guild, there's always a catch. Her accent is now almost identical to the ones used in the city. You're speaking from experience, I suppose. Do I really sound that confident? She titters and waves her hands by her chin as if you just offered her a compliment. I've seen negotiations during my studies, though I can't say I took an active part in them. Let me show you an example. She theatrically clears her throat, patting her chest with one hand and covering her mouth with another, then leans forward and rests on her elbows, allowing her hands to freely make gestures. You make a deal with the settlement. Flour and wool in exchange for coin and tools. You send the first traders, and they imply that you're ready to pay more, let's say parchment. Months later, you want no more rye, just the parchment and the wool. We cannot butcher any more moflins, they say. Don't worry, you say, we'll send you a small flock. Just turn in one of your fields into a pasturage. As she pretends to speak as different characters, her voice comically shifts, and she has no issues switching between accents. She swings her hand above the table. Another year goes by, and there's more parchment, and the village lacks some crops. The tribe needs not just tools and coins, plenty of coins, but also seeds, and the guild is not satisfied. Sending our wagons costs a lot, and there are more highwaymen now. If you want us to come again, you need more moflons to sell us their cheese. And guess what? With a haunted laugh, she straightens up and spreads her arms like someone a third her age. Turns out the village can't say no anymore. They lack supplies, seeds, and land. They can't refuse. The pause doesn't linger for long. I see we understand each other. Let's finish the introduction. I'm Ty, one of the keepers of the Ape Ale Inn, and the mayor of Howlersdale. I assume it would be convenient for you to take my answers back to Hovleven. Say, when can we expect the first caravan? After winter? Depends on what you can sell. While the conversation is going, the food gets served. The refreshing aroma of roasted mutton, covered with thick sauce made of mint, parsley, and honey, tempts you to bite in right away. The juices are sinking into the round trencher, a plate made of simple brown bread. There's also a fish bowl filled with chopped red radishes and a sliced boiled egg, and a mug filled with a cold buttermilk. It's all brought by a few young people, all of them referring to the mayor as their mother, and in the end, the innkeeper shows up to wish you a good meal. He's wearing a clean orange tunic, and a not-so-clean apron made of hemp. He politely introduces himself as Eric's, and after confirming you won't get sick from what he prepared, he leaves you and his wife to get to your conversation. Ty tears into the meat in smaller pieces, then eats slowly, often expressing her enjoyment with a hum. Sounds like the nearby food Nearby ground is fertile. The village would gladly pay its taxes in grain and vegetables with the expectation that the squad of soldiers would provide additional protection. Our youth is strong, she proclaims loudly, so we don't need your guards on our walls, but a lone road warden won't keep the roads passable. We need fighters willing to patrol the paths, maybe even in the heart of the woods. That's what we'd expect in return. You're not an expert when it comes to linen, cheese, and wool, so the mayor spends a good couple of minutes describing the outstanding quality of what the village has to offer, especially the clothes, which are meant to be as unique as those made by Master Crispus. You vaguely remember the name of this tailor shoemaker, but you've never earned enough to pay him for as much as a single sleeve. And of course, we will never eject some steel and bronze. We lack alloys for sickles and scythes. I know a place where you can get some. There's no river. She then repeats her question about starting a trade route. Truth be told, the guild is not sure what Peninsula has to offer. It's going to take them more than your village to convince them. Understandable. But you won't find much in the other tribes. They have barely enough to survive, even after they trade for our crops. For we have the only decent soil in the realm. At least the people of Gale Rocks have salt and barrels of fish, while the creeks sell meat and wood. Actually, if you haven't been in the creeks yet, the farthest village in the northeast, you could give them a chance. They could use your help with keeping their roads safe. White Marshes, on the other hand, as well as Old Pagos, are close to worthless. For a trade route, that is. After these words, she stands up, walks to another table, offers her trencher to an elderly man who sits there by himself. With trembling voice, he thanks her and starts to chew on the soggy bread. She sits down, wipes her hand into a clean cloth, adjusts the folds in her cape, and once again crosses her legs. So tell me, Leto, how's Hoflevin? I haven't gathered much news since the invasion. I can say things stay humble, but are starting to look brighter. The harbor is full of life, and the kids are starting to go strong. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. Not everyone has their own bed, but the new generation is ready to start their own fight. It's far from great. Children who have lost their parents in the war have no trade in hand. There's not enough settlements to send them away. Many people aren't able to prosper. Now, based on what I say here, could play a big role in how the negotiations go. I can't tell them that things aren't good because it means that she's going to have a firmer hand in the negotiations. If I say nothing, it's going to come off that way. I'm going to toe the line. I was hoping to hear that. Her smile shines with kindness. I thought they were done for. Losing all those ships and getting cut off from so many tribes, I'm surprised the soldiers didn't butcher all the priests and traders to fill their stomachs. Yikes. It felt so unavoidable that I even came back home, afraid for my life. But I still carry memories of that place, most of them warm. I'm glad the others haven't given up yet. Her smile fades as she speaks without looking in your direction, giving you a moment of rest. The first time I crossed the city walls and saw the streets, my soul saw them as if they were made of dragon bones, not stone. All those people, the noise, and the high houses, and this life happening all around me. But after only 2 years, everything collapsed, and for the first time in memory, for the first time in human memory, like a burning dollhouse. She pauses, rests her hands on her stomach, and turns back to you. But don't let me drag you away from your duties. How can I help you, Leto? Ooh, boy, a bunch of stuff here. I'm going to check my cat again. I want her to get inside. I'm worried about her. Okay, we're back. Okay. Let me see. Have your... She reaches for a buckle and her voice grows cold. There's no secret, traveler. There's hard work, risks, and sacrifice, and the support of those who care about me. The good things that happen to me shine on my people just as much. Think about that before you mention again. Oof. My bad. I was the pelt of nothing years. No. You mean Beholder, the guardian spirit of our wetlands. Every fall we bring our gifts, and in return it provides us with the blessed fruit, the flesh of the forest. It's older than the oldest books and the oldest thoughts. The druids help us honor its sleep and show us how to ask for its help. Neither of these rituals would be of use for you. That's rough. She stares you in the eyes and turns towards Sodal. Is your palfrey a mare? We have 2 jacks. We could use some mules. Right, so there's no time for romances for draught animals. It would take almost a year, correct? It was just a thought. When her eyes return to you, they regain their sharpness. I'd avoid long talks about that man. Let him remain as part of the past spring. Since you're asking about him, I can only assume that he was indeed sharing his goal with yours. Yet you're already different from him. I like it when travelers don't try to sell me bluegrass. Seeing your frown, she waves it off. It's just a saying. His words were stronger than his deeds, and he's no longer welcome here. If you have to know, he failed, and won't get a second chance. He was meant to escort Aegdia, a daughter of mine, to her betrothed in Gale Rocks. She was a great archeress, and the road from here to the coast is not that dangerous. When they saw goblins on the road, Astarion ordered her to push through, right into their trap. They got jumped like a bunch of wealthy pilgrims. A road warden, worth their gruel, should know better. He could fight with the blade, but my girl, she never had a chance. He disappeared soon after this pitiful attempt at apologizing to me, and we closed our doors behind him for good. I'll let you know if he ever tries to return. Marina sucks on your face. Her words are careless. She's with the fogs now. The goblins were after food, so they carried her shell away. One day she's going to charge at our walls, awoken and empty. Even though she was a bit mawkish, her heart was strong and patient. She listened to people, was ready to help them and to cry with them. I could tell you stories, but for what? Let the dead rest. She adjusts her cape with a annoyed shrug. Try asking for him in the north. He spent most of his time between white marshes, gale rocks, and creeks. Here he wasn't that eager to share his plans. I wonder, back in Hoffleva, did you spend any time with the backwood corner? It used to be this dark, dirty alley with muggers working, even in the daylight. I stayed there with Octavia the miller in exchange for doing chores for her. She had this small wooden hut. You explain that while the place is still called the bad part of the city, the Boarhead makes good coin selling beer and ale to students, mercenaries, and adventurers. The whole land may turn wild one day, but Backwood Corner will stay the same. She sighs with relief and puts her left hand on her hip. Comforting, don't you think? That there are places, these dark corners, where you can always find what you expect. Living there, though, that sounds awful. And always was. I bet the thugs of my youth are no longer around, so I wouldn't count on them giving me a free pass, but I wish I could have a chance to drink a mug or two with the innkeeper once more. The old lady was always too good to stay in that muck. Howler's Dell. Yeah, that guy talked about it a lot. It is what it seems like, the greatest village in the far north. Though I hope to still improve this and that. She winks at you, but is suddenly interrupted by a pained cry of a little boy who hurt his knee during a fall. Yeah, she's just too good to be true. Life's good here. We have what we need, and we take what we want. Or we have what we need and a lot of what we want, building on top of more than 12 generations of hard work and bravery. So much pride. Whenever she mentions an artisan shepherd, it does Mr. Chanceman how much she improved their conditions. She also omits some topics. You hear no tales, songs, ancestors, rituals, or days of prayer. It's like listening to a tax collector. It's only at the very end of the speech that she mentioned wisdom of the elders, now kept in the teachings of the druids, who help her guide those who trust her. They heal our wounds in our gardens. Okay. Tell me, how do people dress in the city these days? Is it similar to what we have here? Before the war, the merchants were wearing those really long dresses and robes, way too long for my taste. They got mud stains after every rain. I see no reason to keep the shoes completely hidden. Here's not enough help. She pushes you with a more detailed question. What do the merchants wear? What about high priests? Do the armors have enough linen and padding? You struggle to say much, and she finally falls silent, observing you with annoyance. Sorry. Okay. Her tense gaze shifts an awkward click of her tongue as she leans away from you. I don't even want to think about their tragic fate. No one can negotiate with the wrath of the herds. After a long pause, and I better not find you upsetting my neighbors with these sad questions. It was a challenging time for all of us. A wound we won't forget. Okay, necromancers. After you ask her to tell you more, she seems to regain her confidence. You mean White Marshes for sure. I don't know all that much about what's happening there. We avoid their lands if we can. I shouldn't gossip about it with strangers. We can talk about it on another occasion. Okay. Thank you. You're in front of the Ape Ale Inn. Eric's Arcakios. I want to see if the guy's got anything I can use to wash myself. The man behind the counter is inspecting a sack of white flour, mumbling to himself and occasionally cursing. The other locals walk away, giving you space to talk trade in peace. That's nice of them. Weevils. He points at a little dark blue insect that's trying to flee. Shit me fire. 'Twas ground a few days ago. Nape pies for us tomorrow, it looks like. Oh, it's in the flour. He puts a sack on the ground. I'll take care of it later. A road warden, eh? Even the mayor cared enough to see you, and kids are lining up to look at your horse. Strangers are like ghosts to them now. He's wearing a simple brown robe. No hood, a rope instead of a belt, and a modest trim made of green thread. It barely reaches below his knees, revealing his sandals and crude pants made of linen. At the same time, it's way too large for him and hangs on like a bag. He stands sideways to you with legs crossed, leaning on the counter with one hand and keeping the other hand on his hip. He's around 40, short and a bit greasy, with a humble beard and hair. His fingers are unusually long. You're traders. We'll see each other often. For you, a trader. From a neighbor is a treasurer. Name's Akakios. Everyone brings here what they have in abundance, and I either sell it to travelers or divide it among the workers, builders, artisans. These things here are not mine. He runs over the crates and barrels, but I can show you our wares if you want. But do not ask me for better prices just because you're a traveler. I need to explain myself for every deal I make, or ties will laugh at me all the way to the buyer. Don't need any furniture, but do you have anything for your social traveler? What can you do about a Saturday? Could use your help? Nothing. No, okay. It's just hard to say, What do travelers need? Well, some crates and barrels run to the carrying assortment of odds and ends, tools made of wood and stone, pots, mugs, seeds, vegetables, fabrics. It takes him a few minutes to look through the wares. He puts 3 packages on the countertop. As he unwraps the first one, you recognize it by the shape alone. Tell me this isn't a beauty. He chuckles and lets you hold the shiny battle axe. The haft is long, but the head is light. I know what you're thinking. Your eyes say everything. He praises the weapon loudly, but you barely listen to him. You see your reflection in the unused blades, sharp as they get. You're not much of a smith, but you can see not a spot of rust. When you take a swing, it hardly takes any effort. The leather straps holding the pieces together are just for decoration, and the handle is as smooth as glass and perfectly fits into your hand. You like it, eh? Now, I doubt you can afford it, but don't worry, it's not all I have. His long fingers tap against the parchment windows of a lantern. Its frame is cheap, made of oak. 'Tis glued and 'tis quiet. While you're shaking, he says, while you're shaking it in the air. Not as fancy as the iron ones with oil, but you can carry it in caves without luring all the corpses and corpse eaters and goblins. Perfect for a traveler. Just look. Inside the lantern, you find a place for a candle. Not a great match for people living in wooden houses. Hide and glue are not easy to make, but I will not ask for more than 4 rings. Okay? The last sack is as wide as the saddle and 3 hands tall. It contains a whole bunch of undyed linen sheets. We usually keep them for traders, but we could use a few dragon rings, and who knows if there's ever going to be another caravan. Interested? Wooden lantern, linen fabric, valuable commodity. How much money do I have? I'll take the lantern. I think I might need it. Just a lantern. That ever he was here more than once. He did not leave much behind. Smelly hoarder. At least he bought a blade from me. Sure, it was a special one. A sickle sword. The tip wider than the grip. Long as from fingertips to shoulder, and not a sword, not a knife. Single-edged, brought his own steel to melt for it. More for cutting bushes, creepers, roots. It will not fell a tree, but is fine tool. Pathfinders use it. My pa used to have one as well. He chopped nuts with it. Nuts and mufflins. Pretty much anywhere. There are hills from here to the coast and bogs in the north and in the heart of the woods. Can I help you with it? Bogs in the north and the heart of the woods. Can I help you with it? Okay. That's fine. You're wandering through the village. 2 guards are having a duel with blunt spears in the yard. An upset mufflin is bleeding time and again, waiting for someone's attention. I don't know what to look for with the tailor, but okay. You follow the guard's directions and reach the whitewashed building standing on the western bank next to a small garden of flowers and herbs. It's well kept and clean, with plain beaten front yard, in parts covered with sand. Through the open windows you catch a glance at the furniture made from smooth, almost shiny wood, with hints of dark cherry-like red, decorated with carvings of plants. A woman in her 40s is sitting on a wooden bench. The table is covered with fabrics and needles made of bone and iron. She's sewing a long sleeve to what's going to become a blue tunic. Her movements are quick and confident. Her brown, wavy, shoulder-length hair is tied into a wreath-like braid. But other than that, her clothes are simple and inconspicuous. She doesn't have a left leg, but you don't notice any cane. You observe her for a few moments until, without sparing so much as a glance, she encourages you to speak with a grunt. You take it off and point at its tears. The woman follows your finger patiently. Here's my price. For 2 dragon rings, I'll patch it up in a half an hour. If it's in worse shape, I'd ask for more time and more rings. To get it truly strong for longer, I need it to be made of better materials, like spider silk. Aye, as high as my work's worth. Just made by spiders, thanks. Okay, canvas and repairs. In half hour, your jacket will be carefully patched up. Okay, it needs no work. Yeah, no thanks, man. I'll pay. Nah, it's fine. Damn. I kind of wish that I could buy something to wash myself, but it doesn't seem like I can get that here. Let's go to the main square. You approach the inn. A few souls sitting at tables converse with another with their mugs or snacking on bread. The innkeeper spends most of his time inside. I don't want to be at the town square anymore. I mean, I guess it's worth looking into. You head to the south to the dead tree in the main square. Before you get to this thatched building, a large man stands up from the bench and gets in your way. He's close to 50, taller than the people you've seen in your life, and broad-shouldered. His hair and short beard are brown, matching his elegant wooden robe. A thick club is attached to his right wrist with a leather strap. He'd left his sandals by his sitting spot. Many want to speak with our guides and teachers. You're not welcome here. Turn back, stranger. We can handle ourselves. If that changes, Elpis will summon you. So be it. You're wandering through the village, and an old fisher is walking nearby, pointing at a tiny, sparkling fish he's just caught. 3 drunken youngsters are having something of a conversation between them. Alright, time to leave. Fuck. Alright, hold on. I don't want to go south. There are supposedly cannibals here, so let's keep going this way. The path gets greener and meanders between treacherous precipices. You ride slowly, passing by birds and ibexes, but in the distance you spot circling harpies, and below you, a roaming mountain cat pursuing a mufflin. You take a sip from your water skin. The air is a bit dry here. The path leads you down again to a small, moist valley, impenetrable for a rider. The thicket is made of thorny shrubs, tall grasses, and the weak fallen boughs that nourish mosses and mushrooms. You examine the remnants of a path covered with greenish puddles. Without the roots of the fresh air of pebbles, it may still be restored. You look behind you. The road is clear, no ambushes so far, but if you hope to clear this place, it had better be soon. It'll only get denser with the passage of days. "2 hours. Yikers. Might as well. Your muscles not used to such tiring work grow tired quickly, so you take a few short breaks, avoiding the thorns and dirty water. When it comes to pushing aside the boughs, you breathe heavily, but you only need enough space to let your palfrey through. Now we gotta find somewhere to stay the night. You reach a convenient mountain pass with crags smoothed out by centuries of rain and wind. The sun warms up both vegetation and beaten road, and the only beasts you spot are loud rooks, glancing at you from the rocks and branches. Clearing the rock slide would take hours of work for a large group of people, while forcing Sodal to climb up could break its legs. You climb up the mountain rocks, having plenty of spots to rest your hands. Most of them won't even move an inch. As you get closer to the small dead tree, you notice something odd among the stones. Pieces of old fabric completely covered with mold, likely made into a tunic. That was a waste. Now what do I do? Damn. I don't know if I can afford it. Can I see my, how much money do I have? 4 coins? Yikers. I don't really know what to do here. I gotta go. What choice do I have? I can't get all the way there. Fuck, dude. The road is beaten in free of litter. You notice paths between the fruit-bearing trees, and soon after that, you ride alongside a vast field of broad beams, almost ready for the second harvest of the summer. Then, there are the guns. I really need to check my guide. Yeah, it's almost night. Sodal's hooves thumped loudly on the beaten track. The green brushes, shrubs, and trees prove that the soil is fertile, yet the plants don't overgrow the road. These crossroads must be busy at times, maybe even patrolled. In the distant west, you see mountain peaks, dividing the lowlands and the ocean. The roads east lead towards the hills, behind which are unusually tall, dark trees. There's a dense forest in the north from which you hear the croaking of toads. The last path is already known to you. You're surrounded by 4 signposts, all of which seem to be made of the same type of wood, now covered in moss and fungi. Yet the pictures and letters that cover the nailed boards are nothing alike. Mountains in the west, east towards the hills, dense forest in the north, and east or west. The long plaque, with Russian no words, only a single picture painted with great care, portrays a city-like gate with a watchtower to its left and its right, a couple of small conifers. 2 planks, both are nailed. The lower sign is divided into 2 halves. The left edge is engraved with 4 simple hangings above them. The other edge bears 2 engraved piles, one of them horizontal rectangles, the other in exact circles. You don't recognize the letters between them. The upper plank is located with 2 short words written right below them, engraved vertical triangle with an hourglass. 2 short words drawn in white paint, and right below them an engraved vertical rectangle with an hourglass. That's time. Okay. East it is. We need to find a place to sleep. The corridor of leaves and gray rocks leads you to a gate, large enough for a wagon, held together by a wooden bar. The planks are covered with rocks and claw marks by various monsters, but they weren't able to damage the wall. A large man covered in shadows is observing you from the roof tower. You lost? I don't know, you mug. I'm Leto, the new road warden. Well, yeah, just on duty and armed, so you know. He lifts a loaded crossbow and sticks it out from the shadows, but I'm no enemy of yours. He leaves the tower. He's wearing black gambeson, so ragged it can't be fastened anymore. Tells a story of claws, thorns, and improvised repairs. The hole in the man's hemp pants reveals a scraped knee. It's hard to tell his age, through his exhausted, sleepy eyes. A short, unkempt beard and a bandage horizontally covering his ears and the spot that used to be his nose. His clotted blood in his brown hair, and mud on his clothes and brown neck. Despite all this, he's a huge shell, with wide shoulders and thick legs. So, a warden, you new to the job? You chose a shit place then. This gate here, he kicks a brick with his heel. He's older than me. All there? Wilds and beasts. My tribe built this place to keep them away from us, and us away from them. He scratches his bandage on his cheek. Name's Quintus, from Old Pagos. Been there? So you don't know, it's west from here. Behind the crossroads. Yep, but it's touched by sickness. We used to send one soul there every morning, escort them back before nightfall, but some days ago, no one came for me. I spent a night here, sneaking wolf shits almost got me. He picks up an almost empty water skin from behind a parapet. I went home myself, only to learn about the sick. I've been here ever since. Someone has got to stay at the gate. The villages in the east don't know about the illness. They may try to cross in the woods, but hit the closed gate while fleeing some of the wolves and stuff. And I also can't leave the gate open. It's like a dam for monsters. If all I can do is choose the way to die, this is it, with my duty fulfilled. That's admirable. Well, you can call it surviving. I call it potions. His chuckle makes him wince in pain. He puts a hand on his stomach and leans away. Beasts took me for easy prey, but the monks from the mountains equipped our guards well. They're helping our ill, but used to brew all sorts of stuff. Not much. Kills. That's all there is to know. My tribe's smart, locking the gate. The right will give them strength. He adjusts his jacket about the shoulders, making the buckles jingle. I'm not a beggar. And the villages in the north won't help me for more than a day or two. I've got no dragon bones, but this little ibex. Old Pagos has by himself. old Pagos is by itself. We don't look for kind folks. He thinks a moment. I'll just wait. I'll get back home once the plague's done, or before winter. You understand, I'm sure. Wardens are souls of duty. Yeah, see? He points to the long, twisted rope that hangs from an iron hook. I could climb down and remove this beam on the other side. You'll take down yours. You need at least 3 hours to get through the woods. Oh my god, it's already night. But I need you to give me on first. I'm hungry. Bring some rations maybe, dried meat, apples, maybe 6 meals, and I'll help you with the gate. Not with coins, I got to stay on the wall in. And traveling without an ass to ride on isn't safe, you know. I hardly have any, not but to barter. Why would I carry plenty of stuff on wall duty? Right. I'll take any help I can get. And many days sure he got done. After you admit that you very much might be, he puts a hand on his waist. Well, better get ready to slit open every dragon belly in the wild. Looking for him. Now it's southern, 4 inches long, 2 inches tall, moves on 4 legs and jumps high and far. It's dark green, like rotting leaves. That one time I was taking a piss in the shrubs, and Astarion made the beast run up with a rock and face and jumped on that. And like they ran above the wall. I meant not everywhere. There's red scales here and on the tail. Shoulders, I think. I don't know what to call it. So, give me a second. Okay, I think I'm going to get through this night and then call it there. A lot of reading. Oh, not much. It leads through the lowlands, mostly woods and some ponds. It's dark and lethal. He mentions tales of ghosts, dragons, fogs, and blood mages, but whenever you ask about any creature in particular, his response is vague and brief. The tribes abandoned this path ever since the war. The trade has been slow. People refuse to patrol it. The plants are getting taller, but at least for a few more seasons, it's still a shortcut. It's good that you have a mount. If Alt chases you, you can always stay close to the paths and ride as fast as you can. Not no one. It's where people hunt for monsters. And every few days I have to open it for reasons. He scratches the banjo cheek. I only know there's one band somewhere, but not around. I never saw them. He straightens up and gives her a look. I don't know who you're talking about. He opens his mouth, giving you a puzzled look, then asks a wee chuckle. What am I to say? We've got rocks. Make houses, bowls, tools. We sell them too. We grow oats and broad beans. Ibexes give us wool, skin for monks. What do you call it? The ones you write on. He moves and you mention parchment. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, it's a good place. Beautiful old hill. That's what old Pagos meant. Old hill. When you bring out the monastery, his eyes get brighter. Good people. They came here on a mission teaching us, writes book. My grandparents were pagans, you know, but we now follow the river of truth. We keep to ourselves, otherwise, but help when others need us. It's too dangerous to stay here. Can't sleep here. To find a place as soon as possible. Huh, boy. Howler's Dell it is. There's too many people to let Sadal run among them. I head to the stable. Spend a few minutes at Sadal. Before you reach the square, someone clears their throat. You turn towards a man in his 50s with large hands, an elegant beard, and no hair. The stable master. He both introduces himself and answers an unspoken question. You frown and realize that you indeed saw him before, and your palfrey was nice and take care of. Or rather, I'm one when 'tis necessary, but I'd rather grind flour. You do not think your beast waters itself and brings fodder from a storehouse and cleans its own shit, eh? Takes its time and hay. If 'tis is nae going to work for it, you better have pouch in hand. You look behind you. The stables are not much more than an open shed. Oh my god. For one day, that's your fare. Here you go. I'll let him work in peace. You're wandering through the village. 3 drunken youngsters are having something of a conversation. I need to find shelter, man. Come on now. You approach the inn. It's darker. You gotta go to the innkeeper. Even though your counter stands outdoors, it's not rotten or dirty. You guess that like other furniture it's bought inside every night. Eric's approaches you with a smile and leans on the surface. He's portly and even taller than his neighbors. He's got freckles, short gray hair, and an elegant beard. His long woolen orange tunic has a decorative cut right beneath the neck and loose braids at the edges. How can I help you, traveler? I could use a room. While it keeps it tidier, keeps it cleaner than you'd find in the city, just tell me when you're ready. Thanks. Well, that's it. Sleeping on a Mouflon pelt. Oh my god, I'm still hungry. I gotta eat. Eat a food ration. Okay. You own a comfy bed. This is all my money. Oh, that's awesome. Yep. We're gonna spend all my money. I'm gonna be clean tomorrow. Your first sleep ends, but your unusual 1-hour break is instantly disrupted by noise. You stand up, walk to the window, and see the reason for the commotion. A group of workers just outside the inn is just ended drinking and laughing. Eric's the innkeeper is also among them. You could join them, but if you do so, you won't get a good night's sleep. After such a long day, you might end up exhausted. No thanks. During your time at Halfhaven, you learned how to ignore drunken crowds. You can relax and return to your routine. As much as it would be nice to meet with them, I'm not going to do that. You spend the night in peace in a clean bed with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning, you find a stool placed by your bed, covered with eggplant soup, a bowl of pears, and some crumbly biscuits. Once you get dressed and go downstairs, a young boy who's covered in mud, great, speaks unusually loud and enthusiastically, mentions that his doll has already been brushed and watered. You nod, but he runs outside without noticing. The innkeeper is sitting at the door from time to time, carrying out another bowl of stool or gruel. Eric also approaches the counter, looking you on a smile. Not really much to worry about. You say as if we expect travelers to get here any day now. I'll ask around. Come tomorrow. Okay. I leave. You're wandering through the village. A gray-haired man is trying to hammer out the dents in a rusty helmet. Young man is doing laundry. I'm going to save here, and I'm going to call it. Only because it's been a long stream of lots of talking, and I'm tired. So, for the time being, that will be that. Can I do... Yep, right there. Cool. We will continue Road Warden at a later date.